Well, thank you, Wyatt. I am so delighted to be here and to thank Tipping Point. We're just very grateful for this award. So there is a solution to homelessness. You know, I see it every single day. I am so lucky. How many people can say that? You know, it's possible that on your way here this morning you saw the problem. If you passed Market Street, you most certainly did. When you see a man or a woman living on the street, you know, it's really hard to imagine that change is possible. In 16 years of doing this work, I have seen people in every single circumstance walk through Shelter Network's doors. Families struggling to make a living, single parents in the wake of a divorce, people lost in their addiction, and those with severe mental illness who literally haven't been inside for decades. Like the woman in downtown San Mateo who had been living in the bushes outside the grocery store for so long, the city actually began trimming them around her. Shelter Network runs 13 programs across San Mateo that provide powerful options for anyone who's ready to do the work to move out of homelessness for good. But when I first started working at Shelter Network, the system was backwards. In order to get into family housing, you had to be clean and sober for 60 days. But without a place to live, a job, or childcare, people are actually more likely to drink and use drugs, not less, and the backslide into poverty becomes fast and steep. Now, clients are housed first so that they can begin treatment in a supportive environment while their children get services too. People need the stability of a home in order to really change their lives. And it's those who are the hardest to serve that need us the most. Today, Michele, that woman who was living in the bushes for 17 years and had hundreds of public citations, has a home. She pays rent in a room at the Vendome, a Shelter Network program for those previously thought impossible to house and incapable of stability. You know, this program has improved her quality of life, but equally as important, it has improved the quality of life of everyone who saw her sitting outside that grocery store every day. Investing in programs like Shelter Network and Tipping Point Community makes the Bay Area a better place to live. You know, I am proud that today we serve a much more fragile population at Shelter Network, but you know, I'm even more proud that we expect all of our clients to succeed. So if you want to stay in a Shelter Network housing facility, you have to keep your apartment clean and help with chores, save at least 50% of your income. Many people save 75%, participate in counseling sessions with a case manager twice a week, and attend life skills workshops like job training, budgeting, nutrition, and positive parenting. People trying to find our shelters actually drive right past them. Their idea of a homeless shelter is really a big room with cots filled with drug addicts and criminals. And families expect to have to sleep with one hand on their kids and the other on their belongings. But Shelter Network facilities are clean and quiet. They have private apartments, play structures, and organic gardens. All who live there are made to feel safe and respected. Because if you give people a beautiful place to live and make them feel like part of a community, they begin to develop a sense of pride and proprietorship. They start to believe in their ability to succeed. And most break the cycle of homelessness for good. Okay, here's the very best part. 91% of Shelter Network's graduating clients transition into permanent housing in an average of 100 days. You know, sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference. Our kids don't have to go to a classmate's birthday party without a gift. They can choose one from our birthday closet. Food isn't rationed out. Families can go to the pantry whenever they need to. And most people come to Shelter Network with little more than a plastic bag or a suitcase full of belongings. But when they leave, they can take the linens, the dishes, the pots and pans, so they don't have to start from scratch. We understand the practical things that people need to become stable, and that's why we're successful. Similarly, Tipping Point understands the basic things a nonprofit needs to thrive. After years of writing grants, jumping through hoops, and trying to figure out how you can stretch your budget to keep desperately needed staff or update age-old technology, Tipping Point's general operating support is truly a breath of fresh air. In 2008, we, like so many other nonprofits, were experiencing a huge decrease in funding and a higher demand for services than I had witnessed in my entire career. It was a tsunami of need. We used to get 100 calls a week. Today, we get upwards of 2,000. 2,000 calls a week. Listen to this. Tipping Point's program director actually called me to check in on any projected deficits that year. Imagine my surprise at getting that call. So we requested $50,000 so we didn't have to lay off key staff. So Tipping Point called me back and said, Michele, you didn't ask for enough money. I mean, who does that, really? What funder calls you and says, you didn't ask for enough money? But see, that's the thing with Tipping Point. They're our partner. They know us so very well. They work with us to figure out what we need. At a time when raising money has never been more critical, Tipping Point provided us with 9 months of fundraising and communications training and 16 hours of individual consulting that we could never have paid for on our own. They also upgraded our entire system with HP technology so that we could serve our clients more efficiently, and this is all above and beyond the check that we get. It's simply a different kind of funding relationship. You know, in thinking about talking with you this morning, I realized that in some ways helping the homeless runs in my family. My grandmother always took in kids with no place to go, and my parents were constantly letting someone stay with us or join us for a meal. In my family, there was a basic belief that you have an obligation to help those in need. I remember being about 12 years old and sitting at the dinner table with my father and a man who had clearly hit the skids. I watched him as he sat there literally shaking, rehearsing his insurance sales pitch to my dad. My dad was so patient with him. He never intended to buy anything, but he took the time to listen. At Shelter Network, our work begins with a kind and patient conversation. You know, I see solutions to homelessness every day, and it's because we treat our clients with dignity and respect. It's critical to our success, and it's how miracles happen. So now, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Steve Carey, a former client of our Maple Street shelter.